This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. I lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
Welcome to the Special Chronicles Show. This is episode 504. My name is Daniel Smrokowski. I'm the founder of Special Chronicles and a Special Olympics Sergeant Shriver International Global Messenger. Before we begin today's episode and bring on today's guest, I want to let you know a few housekeeping reminders. Follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can. I don't know if we're going to still have a Twitter account, but we'll see. I won't go into that. Also, subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to, anywhere you listen to podcasts. So search Special Chronicles and subscribe so you never miss a new episode. And our website, specialchronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 500 episodes absolutely for free. And also there's a list of our favorites, original series, award-winning columns and blogs, and sign up for a newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox. Again, specialchronicles.com. And while you're there, specialchronicles.com/give. You can make a donation for our Special Chronicles 2023 Giving Campaign. We're trying to raise $10,000 from now until December 31st. And so hopefully you all, if you love today's conversation and all these podcasts on Special Chronicles, please join our supporters and make a gift. specialchronicles.com/give. And with that, I think I've did this intro a little too long, but we're going to go ahead and bring on today's guest. And once I bring on the guest, we'll let you know how we got connected. A couple months ago, it was a really awesome event, and we'll tell you about that once we bring her on. But today, this week on the Special Chronicles podcast, we welcome Mackenzie Ramsey from the National Chaos Mentoring Movement. So please put your virtual hands together as we welcome Mackenzie to the Special Chronicles podcast on specialchronicles.com. Welcome, Mackenzie.
I love the virtual hands.
I know. Everybody loves the virtual, because hopefully, I never really know if someone is actually applauding when they're listening to us.
Yeah. I applaud when I'm listening to podcasts. I'm like, yay. Awesome. Yeah. And you never know when people are listening. I heard from a listener who goes and gets their nails done and listens, and people are driving or commuting. I know I listen to podcasts when I'm commuting to work. And so, but let's go ahead and begin. First, be kind of with an introduction, but share with our listeners how we got connected. I mean, I could say, but maybe I'll let you, and then I'll kind of add my 2 cents, but how we first got connected a couple months ago. Yeah, of course. So I'll give an intro. I know I get so excited conversation, but hi, everybody listening. My name is Mackenzie Ramsey. I graduated from Spelman College just this past May as an economics major. I was in a mentoring program with the National Cares Movement, but I also work at the Walt Disney Company. And I also just started a company with my sister called Tribe Trips as well, which helps with travel services internationally. And so how Daniel and I really got connected and bonded over the panel right before we even got on was at this Coca-Cola, which was our community summit that they had just this past month in October. And it was called the Future Promises Youth Panel. So there's about 5 of us on there, just talking about what we've done in the community in Atlanta, globally, and just how we're giving back to our community and the youth as well. So that's my take on it.
Awesome. And if to both of our surprises, if people just listen to the podcast, go check out the video on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn Live, and you will see. I mean, I've got a virtual a green screen brick wall behind me, but in Mackenzie's background, you see to the where she's pointing a awesome painting that surprised us, that Coca-Cola sent us this nice painting, huge painting. So yeah, it was neat, and it was neat how on the panel at Coca-Cola in Atlanta that we all five of us had different stories, but it all sort of kind of connected with how each of us are making an impact on society. And it was neat how Kate was able to kind of moderate that, and it seemed like everybody enjoyed hearing all stories.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely was focused. I would say I didn't get to stay all day because I had to work myself. I'm just started with Disney, but literally it was just us really engaging with more of the Gen Zers, I guess they want to call us, or kind of millennials as well in that area. And they wanted to hear what we were doing and how we're, up and coming and being servant leaders, and really striving in all of the areas: health, policy, content creating, Daniel with the Special Olympics, everything that we were doing, just really engaging in our communities. And I think that was just really great that they wanted to hear from us instead of, people twice or three times our age at the end of the day. Yeah,
absolutely. So let's, in kind of take us back to your early years of, before we get into, we'll get into the next segment more about the National Geographic mentoring movement, and then in the third segment we'll get into what your current job is. But first, kind of give us a little bit of a backstory of your early years, of how you got interested and how you got involved in the National Geographic mentoring movement. I did a little bit of research before we got on, but tell us and kind of maybe a little bit of the backstory of how you got involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've actually been volunteering and mentoring probably my entire life. Both my parents are very much, like I said, servant leaders. That's where I got it from. My mom owns several businesses. So she's actually started a child, and they worked in nonprofits a lot. And being the youngest, I was obviously either the guinea pig or the one trying to help improve it at the end of the day. So I've worked at the school for my mom and dad. I worked in youth programs that my dad's created for minority students as well, especially for minority students. And so being a part of that and seeing the impact that they've had in those communities, I've always wanted to be a part of that and even strive to be a leader in those areas. So when I came to college, I actually joined the first mentoring organization called Spelman Protege. Still, if anybody of you guys are listening, still love you guys, still very close to them. And so I worked my way up from being a mentee to being the code lead director of that organization. So really just giving back to my Spelman community, but also taking that and seeing where I could do that in the Atlanta area. Because I did, again, mentor and volunteer in the Philadelphia area where I was born and raised, or let me not say Philly, so all the Philadelphians get mad at me. I was born in the suburbs of Philadelphia and volunteering in more of the inner city still in that work. But then once I moved to Atlanta in college, I was like, I'm missing that. I'm missing that community. I'm missing that sense of helping and supporting. So I really did a first Dunbar Middle School, would read to girls in maybe 3rd to 2nd grade, 4th grade. But I was like, I still need to do more. And in my family, we're like, you can always continue to do more, do your best, but keep striving for higher. So yes, there's pressure, but also I think leads to my volunteering things that I do. So after that, I really just strive to find another organization that was very intentional and very purposeful for when they were mentoring and doing their work inside the Atlanta community. And so that's how I found National Cares Movement. They had a HBCU Rising initiative, which just focused on STEM. And I was like, well, in my area, at my school, economics wasn't considered a science. It's actually considered an art. So I wasn't classified as the, standard STEM student, but I was like, I really want to be a part of you guys. Is there any way I can come in? I feel like I have a good background. Like I said, working in middle school, I've worked with students my whole life. I feel like I would be a great asset for this program. And they're like, of course, like we need, more students like you. Like not many people really are in economics or even striving to work in business or, hospitality in that sense. So that's kind of how I got started with them. I just pleaded to, let me join and let me show you what I can really impact our community. And then that's where I got to volunteer for, I think, the end of my senior year in King's Middle School. So that was just a great experience for me. And I truly hope the students as well felt my impact.
Awesome. Well, we're going to go ahead and take a short break. When we come back, we'll hear a little bit more about the National Chaos Mentoring Movement and then about your coin shop. And we'll remind our listeners if they... Well, we remind them at the end of the program how they can get connected with you and your business on Instagram, and because that was something that we did after we got off stage. It was really neat that we were able to stay connected on Instagram after, and so that's why we'll save that for the end of this podcast, so our listeners can get connected with you. And so our guest is Mackenzie, and we'll be back after the short break right here on specialchronicles.com. Let's see if I can find the white clip. White bumper. Support for Special Chronicles comes from listeners like you. As an independent public media podcast, Special Chronicles will always be there for you. Now we're asking you to be there for us. As a nonprofit independent media organization, we can only make programs like Special Chronicles with listener support. Our programs provide weekly, candid, honest, and inspiring conversations about the people with disabilities community that creates awareness, support, and advocacy within each week's episode. Listeners tell us our shows are an enjoyable and necessary podcast for the intellectual and developmental disability community and everyone else who is able to listen to stories about life from a different angle. Please, if you and your family love our weekly podcast, make a one-time, monthly, or annual gift of thanks today. Support this podcast at specialchronicles.com/give. That's specialchronicles.com/give. And I should raise my mic level, and there we go. Sometimes I drink water and don't pay attention during the breaks, but hopefully all of you listen. Yeah, that's why I always try to have water in the studio, and hopefully all of you listening can go to specialchronicles.com/give and donate. I know just a week ago we got a very generous, large, probably one of the largest individual donations to this podcast. So all of you who have already supported, thank you so much. It's free for you to listen to this podcast, but it does cost us money to keep the lights on, to upload these podcasts, to live stream, for the website. I mean, every month. So please, all your support goes to help so we can share these stories. So, Mackenzie, can you share with us a little bit more about what the mission of the National Chaos Mentoring Movement? I think the speaker before our panel was I'm blanking on her name, but she was
Susan L. Taylor.
Susan, yeah, she was the founder of the National Chaos. So can you maybe tell about, and I think you said that you got connected with her as well. So can you share a little bit of how you got connected with her, and then about the mission of the National Chaos Mentoring Movement?
Absolutely. So Susan L. Taylor is the founder and CEO of National Chaos Movement, and I believe she was also, before this, the chief editor of Essence. But check me on that. I forget her past life, but she's truly an amazing woman. Someone that just fills up the room, didn't really need a script, was just talking from the heart. That's what Daniel was referring to before she even brought us onto the panel. But she's done a lot of work, not only in the Black community, but in a lot of different demographics, just constantly being the biggest advocate for those areas. And I'm going to read the mission just because I want to make sure you guys really hear the words and the intentionality that they use. So it says, the mission of National Care's mentoring movement is to secure, heal, and transform the lives of impoverished Black children by inspiring, recruiting, and mobilizing masses of caring Black men and women to mentor and nourish them. Our national volunteer affiliate networks connects adults to local youth serving organizations, our national group mentoring programs focus on the emotional, social, and academic development of our children and the wellness of the students who parent, mentor, and educate them. And so I was more a part of those group mentoring programs that we essentially had. And so as you can hear, the emotional, social, and academic development is the real reason I think I really joined this movement. Just because I think your emotional well-being, not just are they doing the grades right, are they going to school, but especially coming out of the pandemic, there was a whole different emotional, mental, and physical way that we were just changing. And so I think ultimately I wanted to be that advocate for these 8th grade math students, Miss Wilson's class, love you guys, definitely, because it just was something that I felt was not only impacted me, but I could only imagine how it impacted others. So they were just truly an amazing organization, had the best support and leadership, even when I was feeling, nervous about where am I going next year? What am I doing? What is my development like? They had our own trainings, our own program to really support just the mentors, because they don't know, a lot of teachers don't even know what emotionally things that they go through that can impact the students as well. So making sure you're okay before you can help somebody else is truly, I think the program was phenomenal at.
Awesome. And I'm sure you had a lot of volunteer and a lot of rewarding volunteer experiences with the National Chaos Mentor movement. Maybe it was at the middle school. Can you share with us maybe an example of what one of the most rewarding volunteer experiences that you have had that have really impacted you now, kind of even now post college and starting your career? Is there a rewarding volunteer experience? Kind of
I mean, I think I don't want to be that person, but every time I volunteer, I just get happy to have those moments to interact and connect with so many different people. I think honestly, I just volunteered. I know this is not with National Cares Movement. I truly loved my experience there, but with Disney, I actually volunteered for the HBCU week that they had for the first time at the Walt Disney World Resort. So here in Orlando, Florida, where I'm located, and being a part of that, not only seeing how many people are interested about going to a HBCU, which stands for Historically Black College or University, but really just seeing how excited students and young kids and everybody was to just hear the battle of the bands, to hear about the different schools, to see a lot of the, HBCU alums that came from those schools. I want to shout out MLK came from Morehouse. Just want to let everybody know that. But so just really amazing that I got to be a part of that and help and speak to some of the students at the fair and the band. So I think that was my most exciting. I think just the way Disney put it on, but I think my most rewarding was definitely at the National Cares Movement. When I was in Miss Wilson's class, when I talked to a student that was just really sad, just head down, and I'm like, okay, like maybe it's just a morning, like maybe we're just tired, but I talked to her and she was like, I'm like, what's wrong? Like, you're not writing down the math problems. And I get it. We all know math is hard. 8th grade math is something that nobody wants to be a part of, but I was like, what's going on? Like, maybe we should just write it down. She's like, my whole house just burned down. And I was like, wow. And you're here in school. And she's like, yeah, like a lot of us are probably fortunate enough to have our parents, kind of, let's go to the hotel for a little bit, or let's just walk around. Like, no, her mom had to go work. At the end of the day, her child had to go to school. And a lot of these parents have to. So I think me just being there and able to listen to her, tell her, let's go get some water, or let's take a walk, just to have, again, that emotional support that she didn't get maybe early this morning, but enough for her to get through the day is something that I'll always remember that story. And I know I shared that on the panel too, or with Susan L. Taylor, how much I was able to hopefully impact her in her day, or maybe just that moment, but just made me really realize how much others could be going through just in school, just in life, besides myself. Because I was upset about my honors economics paper that I had to do later that day. To hear it from her, just like my whole house, everything that I own, everything that I have is just gone. And you continue to come to school is something. And I'm like, okay, I need to realize and recognize my priorities as well. So not only did I feel like I impacted her and just being that listening ear, but she impacted me and made me jump out of my, selfishness of, okay, I need to write a paper at the end of the day. So that was probably my most rewarding and volunteer experience that I was a part of. Awesome.
And and kind of speaking to that, I'm sure that there's a lot of mentees that you have mentored that have gained a lot from that mentor experience, but maybe kind of is there when you were going through the National Chaos Mentor movement, is there a mentor that has empowered you or impacted you? And can you maybe tell us a little bit about that person?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I got to meet Susan L. Taylor and how I got connected with her, I mean, I am in a sorority, so I'm a part of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and that's, about public service, about community, about sisterhood. And I think our instant connection of that, I would see how she walks in the room, the way she dresses, the way she smiles, the way she knows everybody and connects personally and even touches them to make her feel that. That was probably, I'm calling her my mentor or admirer or whatever, but the way she didn't even have to really say anything to me to show me or encourage me how to really go through that. And her love for the youth, for everybody, you can see in her programs that she creates for the National Cares movement. And so I'm so glad I got to be a part of another SOAR program, and it was so accidental that I didn't even know, but I was so happy that it was, and it just paid tribute to why I joined this sorority and the women that I instantly connect with. So
awesome. We'll have to definitely share this episode with her, and along with
absolutely, I absolutely love it.
So, moving on, is there what for? I'm sure a lot of our listeners, just like when we first met last month, it was the first time that I heard about the National Chaos Mentor movement, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are hearing about this organization for the first time. And so, for any of our listeners who might know somebody that might want to get involved, what to you is most compelling about this organization? What if you could share kind of maybe a piece of advice that could encourage either one of our listeners, or maybe one of our listeners might know somebody that might want to get involved.
Yeah. I think the reason, like I said, was really just how intentional this program. So specifically the one that I was in was called HBC Rising Mentors / Tutors. And it was catered more to students or college students at the HBCUs in the Atlanta area. Clark, Morehouse, and Spelman, and Morris Brown. And so I think just really how intentional they were with the types of students that they wanted to get. Of course, they wanted to focus on STEM, but you have to think, well, why would they want a STEM major? Maybe because a lot of Black youth aren't interested in STEM. A lot of youth in general aren't interested in STEM. And so really, I think we're getting there with science and astrophysics and everything. But I mean, I loved science before I really became an economics major too, with chemistry and everything. So having those passionate students already in the face of students that are like, I just want to end school here. I don't want to continue with high school or college or anything of that. And I think how National Cares prepared us for those schools was because they already told us these were going to be the conversations that you guys are going to be facing. Like, we went through scenarios of kids, cursing you out or doing all these things that may happen, may not, but most likely will happen sometimes because of their upbringing, because of where we are in the world. And to not be afraid of that, to not back down from that, but to learn how to strategically and intentionally and authentically communicate to the students, better ways, better systems, better colleges. I know there was one student who was like, I want to be an actor. I was like, perfect. Howard University has the perfect acting program for you. One kid was like, oh, I want to do, I'm interested in planes, but I don't really know. I was like, find a technical college, work on cars, work on engineering, if that's what you're kind of interested in. So me being there and having that knowledge of other science fields that they were not even exposed to, they were like, oh yeah, I want to work on hair. I'm like, okay, you can go to cosmetology school. Like you could do all these different things. Not saying there's one way to go to a traditional way of schooling, but just leading them to see that there are other ways to not just stay where they are right now, just not to stay in their predicament that they were facing. And I think just National Cares was really encouraging that of us to be our authentic selves and not just show face and take an Instagram picture to say, oh, I'm helping them out. Like, I was in there to really work every single day. I was excited to show up for the students. I tried to learn some of the parents' names and, hey, your kid's doing really well, stuff like that. But overall, I think this program was very intentional. The tutors that it picked, as well as what they taught us to say and the verbiage to really go off of. So
awesome. Now, to kind of backtrack just a little bit before we move on to the next segment, how has this program prepared you to engage with students at the King's Middle School in Atlanta who are dealing with challenges in and out of school? Like, how you've shared a little bit, but maybe can you go into a little bit more detail about how has this program prepared you to engage with these middle school students? Yeah,
so before we even know which classroom or, which school or anything, they, have us on these boot camps that we do for about maybe, I think it was 2 weeks or so, and just giving us scenarios, stories, case studies to just go through and really learn of, the best outcome or, the way to handle different situations. So we would sit on Zoom or so and talk through, okay, Tommy did X, Y, Z. What do you think you should do? And just overall giving it to our face before it actually happens, so we don't have those, back and forth yelling conversations that could come with misunderstandings, and learning how to regulate and understand our emotions and our triggers, so then we can help and support the students better. So we would have, I like to call them therapy sessions, but we have a psychologist come in and a psychiatrist come in, or relationship therapists come in and just really understand different dynamics, attachment styles, things like that. I know that's more like romantic sometimes, but just understanding different ways that we interact with each other to really just help and support the students more. And I think I said having that language, having that way to describe it was easier for the children to allow us to be vulnerable, but allow them to be vulnerable too.
Awesome. And before we get into the next segment and into your current job post-college, to kind of sum up this segment of really talking about the National Cares mentoring movement, how have you continued to be a spokesperson? Because when we were speaking on the Future Promises panel at the Coca-Cola Summit, you I guess no longer actively participating in it, I guess we could say, with the movement. But how do you continue to be? Is it speaking on panels like we did a month ago, or how do you continue?
Yeah, I think honestly, like the things that I'm doing now, being on podcasts, but not just only taking the name of National Cares, mentoring movement, because of course that's important. Of course it's amazing, organization. But I think overall, just taking the teachings that I've gotten from it, being that purposeful and intentional person when it comes to speaking with the youth or speaking about any of my experiences, just being authentic, being myself, and sharing, how can I support you more? How can I, be your advocate at the end of the day, and learning and understanding different cultures, I think is something that I'm striving to do. And being a spokesperson for them, I told them, I said, I can do any other speaking engagement that you want me to. I've had an amazing experience with you guys, even, during the process of speaking for them at that panel. So I said, whenever they need me, I'm there for them. And I hope if they hear this too, just know that, I'm speaking only highly of my experience with you all. And I truly hope and encourage everybody else to join some of these programs that they have, or continuously strive to be a mentor in their own community. And I think that's what they would want for me.
Awesome. Well, we're going to go ahead and take, if it wasn't for, in addition to our supporters, if it wasn't for our sponsors, this podcast, we wouldn't be able to keep the lights on and keep these podcasts being uploaded and streamed and all that fun stuff that of how you're able to listen. You listeners are able to listen. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick sponsor break. And when we come back, we will get to hearing from you, Mackenzie, of your post-college and your current job. And so our guest is Mackenzie. We'll be right back right here on specialchronicles.com after this short break. You can find the audio clip. We'll be right back right here on specialchronicles.com.
Support for Special Chronicles comes from ComEd. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with the ComEd Energy Force Ambassador Program. The Energy Force is the country's first energy efficiency education program designed for and taught by people with disabilities. ComEd is powering lives and really is powering us here at Special Chronicles to keep the lights on and our technology is powered on. As ComEd powers the lives of us, they're literally giving a voice to people with special needs. We thank ComEd for the generous support of our mission at Special Chronicles. Learn more at specialchronicles.com/ComEd. That's specialchronicles.com/ComEd.
Oh, I always forget to raise my mic level. I do that just in case I need to take a sip of water so you guys don't hear. I should mute myself, but sometimes I forget to unmute myself.
Yeah, and then you're just talking. It happens all the time, especially in big word calls. Everyone's like,
yeah, look at this. I know, especially if you're on Zoom. Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, sometimes if I'm on Zoom, it's kind of like a double mute. I've got this Rodecaster Pro, so this mixer, so I can mute myself on here, and then mute, like just like you see on StreamYard, you can mute yourself. Yeah. So it's like a double mute. Then
it's a complete silence. You will not hear anything.
No. Which dead air on a podcast might not. You listeners
might need to listen. Just
you might just. So, I mean, video. We could probably just put
sometimes they run slow. It glitches.
Yeah. Anyways, so post-college, you said you just graduated with a degree in economics this past May 2022. Mm-hmm. And so tell us about today now after college, and then after our last sponsor break, we'll get into the social media plugs, which I'm glad that you added to the show notes. So I make sure to put the correct Instagram accounts in the show notes. Again, if you guys are listening to this, go the link below in the show notes, specialchronicles.com/podcast504 is where you can find the show notes for this episode to get connected with Mackenzie, as well as how to there's an email, feedback@specialchronicles.com, and all the other donate and sponsor links will be in the show notes on specialchronicles.com, as well as my social media will also be in the show notes. But tell us now, Mackenzie, about post-college graduation, working as a rotational analyst for the Disney Signature Experiences, working with National Geographic, and then kind of go into you and your sister's business on Instagram at tribe_trips, which just you got two new followers. So from my account, and also Special Chronicles is now following at tribe_trips. So hopefully all of you listening, when you're listening, just open up Instagram and just go follow at tribe_trips. So because tell us a little bit about your now post college.
Yeah, so honestly, I'll tell you the journey that I took to get to this job, honestly. So my biggest thing, my school drove us to be economic majors, to be economists, work in the economy. And I said, I love all the economists. You are truly helping us out, but that is not something I want to do right now. Maybe get my PhD later, but I don't know. So I was like, maybe I need to get into hospitality school since I don't have much background. My background's mostly finance, internships, mentoring, education, stuff like that. And so my amazing sister, who I actually started Tribe_Trips with our business together, was because she helped me get this role to be a rotational analyst in Disney Signature Experience. So it's basically in this place called Adventures and Expeditions at Disney, and we work with the new, National Geographic. And so the side that I really support is all these luxurious travel, private jets, expedition cruises, rivers, and I get to rotate between about 6 of those teams, just to understand, obviously, the travel industry, the hospitality industry, and why not do it, who does it the best, which is Disney. And so really working with National Geographic, though, it gives me that love of science that I was speaking about earlier. So you get to have a National Geographic expert, maybe the one that discovered the Titanic, maybe the one that's been researching penguins or swimming with the turtles in the Galapagos. So those people get to be on your trip and give you to learn more about the area, really immerse yourself. We like to say go off the beaten path at the end of the day. And so that's what I help support. And what I love that they're doing is really focusing on, sustainability efforts and conservation. So even though we have these amazing trips, we also want to give back. And like I said, I'm very intentional and very purposeful through where I work, how I work, and the people that I work with, because I wanted to always tie something back into my heart, which is, let's save the world, let's save the planet, and wildlife as well. So being a part of a business that supports that as well is just, the cherry on top working there. And so now my sister, and I think even my family, has seen how great the hospitality industry is, and the travel service industry. And of course, my sister was like, hey, can you help me with, my business? So I really just support her and give her support and anything that she needs with this service, which is Tribe Trips. So it's Black owned and woman owned and founded. There's about four of us starting it right now, and it's just in its early stages, but we're all booked up for calendar 2023 for international trips. But we have book lists if you want to just look at the research. So all the researching that they've done, I don't know if you've ever heard of a UX researcher, but my sister and some of her members are data and product researchers. So they're really diving into the work that you don't want to do to plan a trip and travel. Let's say that. So they'll find the villas. They'll find the best excursions to go on. And, they support your tribe, the people that you want to have a good time with. And your tribe could be from 2 people to 30 or 5 to 8, whatever size it may be. Tribe Trips is really to able and customize and personalize those experiences for you. So it's not like you join a trip or whatever it is you have to be a part of. We take your tribe and we ask you, what do you need? What do you want out of it? And that's how we're different. And we only really support not all inclusives, but your villas, your Airbnbs, things like that. And we find the best ones in that destination. So you get that immersive culture, but also that luxurious side of travel.
Awesome. And it's I'm assuming that just looking around, just now, looking around your Instagram account at Tribe_Trips, I see some of the countries that you have, which you got Portugal, Morocco, Ibiza, Jamaica. So is it internet? Like, is it like one particular region in the world, or is it?
So we really mostly support international more than domestic right now, but we can create more of a booklet or give you some advice and guidance that you can sign up for a consultation to decide which package would be the best for you. But we really love to immerse ourselves wherever your tribe, like I said, it's very customizable. Wherever your tribe wants to go, we might even expose you to different areas you've never heard of before. So a lot of, the standards are, let's go to Puerto Rico, let's go to, Mexico or something like that. Yeah, that's great. Those are amazing places to go. But so many people haven't heard of Nepal or Kathmandu or any of those places too, or Cambodia. I know that's a new one. I absolutely love traveling to Cambodia, but just kind of those places that people might not hear about. So kind of just supporting my sister in that ways and finding different destinations for her to go to as well. But it's really her baby and her doing, and I'm just the little sister, just seeing where I can help her out.
Awesome. Well, want to touch on something that you said that I could kind of relate to, because I graduated from college in December 2012 with a degree in journalism, but kind of, yes, somewhat working at a small newspaper after, but as you know, the journalism, I'm sure a lot of people already know the journalism industry is not, it's good, but it's not usually the best, like, I guess I could say the jobs in the journalism industry is not always a lot of them. So I kind of like you. I've kind of steered away. Still have that love of what you studied in college, but kind of finding a different passion. Is that? I mean,
exactly.
What you say that's kind of what.
And so I think everyone's like, they're like, how does it connect? It's like, I understand supply and demand. I understand, things that we live in a capitalist society. But at the end of the day, I am a people person. And I think economics is just putting math to things that people have common sense about. Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, econometrics, it was great. It was fun. But I'll stay up to macro and microeconomics for those understand that. But it definitely was great. I'm glad I did it. And we necessarily didn't have true business at my school. So that was the closest thing. But I think I learned a great deal of just the economy overall. And it helped me understand about the global economy, too, and different ways we, forecast things. So it helped. It did what it needed to do in undergrad. And now it inspired me to look, beyond that, too. So thank you, Spelman College. Awesome.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take one final break. When we come back, we'll get into some social media plugs as well as a final question. Sometimes I let the guests know that final question, but which you got a little sneak peek in the show notes. And listeners, if you've been listening for at least the past few years, you probably know what the final question is. But it's I think an insightful question to kind of wrap up the conversation with. So we'll get to that after this final break. With a couple of affiliate links. Our guest is Mackenzie from @tribe_trips right here on SpecialChronicles.com. We will be right back.
Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting. At Special Chronicles, we proudly host our weekly podcasts with Podbean and highly recommend you use Podbean Podcast Hosting to get started in podcasting today. Sign up for an unlimited hosting plan and get 1 month free now to get started in podcasting today when you visit specialchronicles.com/Podbean. That's specialchronicles.com/Podbean. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard, the easiest way to create professional live streams. StreamYard is a live streaming studio in your browser. Interview guests, share your screen, and much more. Stream directly to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and other platforms. Sign up for StreamYard today using our StreamYard referral link when you visit specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. That's specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. And we're back for this final segment of the program. And so this is the point of the episode where we get into some social media plugs. And because just like what we did after we got off stage, I don't know if any of the other panels at the Coca-Cola Summit, if any of the other panelists put out the phones and connected with each other on Instagram. But
I know.
maybe we did because we're that kind of millennial Gen Z youth. Yep. And that's what we do.
I think that's, exactly. I think LinkedIn is just so long. It takes a minute to get there, but it's like Instagram. I'm like, guys, I know it's not as professional, but that's what I look at right now. Yeah. Of course, I have a LinkedIn, of course.
Yeah. Well, and same thing. I prefer probably out of all the like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Instagram is probably the first app that I go to at the end of the day, when you're just winding down, Instagram is probably that, post. So
exactly.
So with that, since that's how we concluded all panel time, that's why we're saving that for the end of this episode, and I'll put up on the screen. You could briefly kind of mention the National Care for people listening to the audio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. They don't see us, but
right, okay,
but people see, because we got some people.
No, it's my.
Oh,
what I remember at the end of podcasts, you have to spell it out.
Yeah,
I got it.
Yeah, you have to spell it. Yeah, because we got some people that will watch the live stream video, but some people might just like me. I usually listen to just the audio podcast, but some people might prefer video. So with that, then the National Chaos Mentoring Movement, and then how to connect with you personally as well as your travel business on Instagram.
Yes. Okay. So if you want to do the National Cares Mentoring Movement, you can find it at Cares, all lowercase, no spaces, nothing, guys. caresmentoring.org. That is CARES mentoring.org. I sounded like a commercial. And then after that, if you would like to connect with me personally, you can follow me on Instagram, Kens_U_not. If you get it, Kens you not. Right? But you can follow me there and connect with me. And then for my sister and I's business and our amazing founders, you can go to @tribe_trips, all lowercase. And so you can find us, connect with us. If you just want to connect with me, and I can link you to the other places, or you can find me on LinkedIn, which is just Mackenzie Ramsey, MACKENZIE.
Awesome. So we'll put those links. If you guys are driving or commuting or doing something that you can't write down these Instagram handles, just look in the show notes below. Special Chronicle. I mean, not. If you're driving, don't do this right now.
Right, wait.
Pull over. Watch, we're going to have a ton of you listeners that are pulling over. Just to, okay.
Right, please, yeah.
Please, do this safe. So, pull over, and then in the show notes, specialchronicles.com/podcast504, you can find links to get connected with Mackenzie on Instagram or LinkedIn. And with that, before we get to the final question, any final thoughts on your time here today on the Special Chronicles podcast? I know before we went on air, you said this was your first podcast to be on, and I'm sure we can talk more off air about how you can get started with your own podcast, because everybody's doing it these days.
Yeah, I know. I mean, honestly, this is probably my first and best podcast, and you've been amazing. I'm so honored that you thought of me compared to the work that you guys were doing on the panel. I'm truly just honored to be, speaking and you guys wanting to hear my voice too. And I think it's amazing the work that you've been doing, and just, continuing with these podcasts, because, I enjoyed listening to them now that I found you, basically.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. It's been a joy to get connected with you, and hopefully we can have some of the other panelists on this podcast too. 'Cause, since when we were on the panel, I feel like only Coca-Cola employees and their North America partners heard our stories. But now, hopefully, we can share this podcast, and all of you listening, wherever you're listening, whether you listen to us on specialchronicles.com or anywhere that you listen to podcasts, please share this episode and help us to share Mackenzie's story. Share these stories with your friends, with your family. Text it to your family, friends. Put it on your Instagram stories. Put it on your LinkedIn. Share it, because that's how we can share these empowering, positive stories. And with that,
the message,
with the message. So with that, let's get to that final question, and let's go ahead and we'll that bumpo. I should click on the button. Let's go ahead and roll that bumpo.
We're not just athletes.
We are the ambassadors of an uprising.
Peaceful protesters.
In a rebellion against anyone
who has a fear of difference.
Difference.
Our demands are
equality.
Dignity. And the recognition of our shared humanity.
We will not stop
or accept anything less.
Today, our world is
more divided than ever.
And coming together has never been more urgent.
The revolution
is inclusion.
Find out more at jointherevolution.org.
And as you could probably tell from that bumpo, and if listeners ever since I came back from the 2019 Special Olympics World Games in Abu Dhabi, we've been concluding this.
Nice.
Yeah. That was a great experience.
We traveled there too. Too.
Okay, great, awesome. So listeners, if you want to go to Abu Dhabi, just look up at tribe_trips on Instagram and get connected with Mackenzie.
And we will get you to the Special Olympics. We will.
Yeah, well, I mean that was in 2019, but.
Oh, right.
Berlin next year, June 2023.
Right, okay. We can get you there too.
Yeah. If you guys are listening and you want to join us in Berlin at the next Special Olympics World Games, go to @tribe_trips on Instagram.
Yep.
And Mackenzie will help you to. You can meet me and everybody else. Mm-hmm. You can volunteer in Berlin next June. Yeah.
Yes.
So see?
And we'll plan it all out. We'll plan all the whole itinerary for you to meet Daniel, for you to go to the Olympics, for you to do everything that you want to do there. Volunteer, all of that.
You know what? This is a great way to end this in this episode. We didn't even get to that final question yet, but
I know.
I have to say, there's actually a bunch of people that I know that listen to this podcast that do want to join us in Berlin. And
yes,
we are being totally serious. Go to Instagram at tribe_trips, and Mackenzie will help you to get to Berlin.
Yes.
So
we'll get you guys there.
Awesome. And with that, let's finally get to that part. The inclusion revolution is a big part of Special Olympics. It's a big part of Special Chronicles. Yes. I'm sure the inclusion, not just in our special needs, our disability community, but in the Black community and all different minority groups, mm-hmm. Inclusion is a big part. So we always conclude these episodes, these podcasts, conversations with asking one final question, and I'll do the same with you and ask you, what does inclusion mean to you?
I mean, I really love this question because I honestly don't. I think I get asked it a lot, and I'm like, oh, of course, it's me being in the room, it's me or other minorities not being in that space. But I think what I'm a big advocate for is not just allowing us or giving us in that space, but really showing us how we can thrive. And I think it's not, we can be a part of the big conference call, but what are we contributing? What are we impacting? And how can we continue it and strive it forward? What does Black culture, what does, other minority communities look like for the future? And just advocating and being that biggest supporter. I think that's really means to me is listening, but also creating something from what you listen to. So not just hearing it out.
Awesome. Well, that's a perfect way to wrap up this episode. And I'm sure anytime that you want to come back on this podcast, I'm sure you can come back on. Oh, maybe once you get started with your podcast, when you get your podcast started, then we can kind of flip the microphone around and yeah. So it's been a joy talking to you and looking forward to staying in touch with you on Instagram. Yes. And folks, once again, if you want Mackenzie to help you to go to the next Special Olympics World Games in Berlin, yes, at tribe_trips on Instagram and get connected, and she will help you get there. Oh, any trip.
Yeah, any trip. Even if you're just there, maybe you don't make it to the Olympics, but you just want to meet the people around, we're able to do that as well. So we're customizable for you guys and your tribe.
Awesome. So with that, thanks again, Mackenzie, and folks, we'll see you next week. It might be a fundraising episode, as we will two more weeks. Well, by the time you guys hear this, 2 more weeks of 2022. So we might do a fundraising episode. And we got much more content. My producer and I, we are planning our 2023 podcast content. So you guys stay subscribed. We maybe will make a gift, specialchronicles.com/give. And we'll see you next week right here on specialchronicles.com.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles Podcast. Our podcast was produced by Daniel Smrokowski on the Special Chronicles Network. Follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Our website, specialchronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 500 episodes for free. Also, there's a list of our favorites, original series, award-winning columns, and blogs. And sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox. Again, specialchronicles.com. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard. Thanks, as always, to our business manager, Adam Smrokowski, who always encourages us to never give up. I'm Daniel Smrokowski, back next week with more stories.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.